Welcome to While We Were Distracted, the podcast where we explore topics that often get overshadowed in the rush of daily life.
Okay, we can all be seated. The record will reflect that the jury is back with us. The witness is on the stand. You may proceed.
Proceed, Your Honor. In mid-2019, OpenAI entered into an investment agreement with Microsoft, correct?
Yes.
And in connection with that agreement, Microsoft invested $1 billion, right?
Yes.
And that was invested in the for-profit entity, right?
Yes.
For the purposes of advancing the mission of the nonprofit, right?
Certainly, our overall goal for OpenAI is to achieve the mission.
That's not my question to you. My question is the $1 billion investment that Microsoft invested in the OpenAI for-profit in 2019 was made for purposes of advancing the mission of the nonprofit, correct?
Too narrow of a statement.
I see. The for-profit agreed to license some of its technology to Microsoft as part of the agreement.
I believe that's true. Actually, I don't recall exactly for that one versus the following one was licensed.
And licensing means that you pay a fee and you get to use it, right?
In general, yes.
Okay. In 2021, OpenAI for-profit entered into an amended investment agreement with Microsoft, right?
Yes.
And under that amended agreement, they invested $2 billion in the for-profit for purposes of advancing the mission of the nonprofit, right?
Once again, too narrow of a statement.
That 2021 investment was not publicly announced, correct?
I don't remember exactly.
You'd remember if it was, wouldn't you?
I just don't remember if it was, but I believe you.
And in both 2019 and in 2021, in addition to the investment agreement, there was something called a joint development and collaboration agreement. Is that right?
Yes.
And was entered into in the first instance in 2019, and then it was amended in 2021, right?
That sounds right.
In 2023, the OpenAI for-profit entered into a third investment agreement with Microsoft, right?
Yes.
And the third investment agreement actually was for $10 billion, right?
Yes.
5 times what the 2021 agreement was worth, right?
Yes.
It was all over the news, right? It was a big deal. It was in the news.
We announced it.
The 2023 deal, right?
As in, was it covered by news organizations?
Yeah.
Certainly. What was it covered by news organizations? I said certainly.
And it was even leaked before January of 2023, wasn't it?
I don't remember specifically.
In the 2023 agreement, OpenAI agreed to license all of its technology to Microsoft except for artificial general intelligence. Is that right?
I actually don't recall what was different between the $2 billion and the $10 billion investment.
Was that not within your portfolio at the company?
This is not my focus area, no.
The $10 billion investment in OpenAI, the for-profit, it increased the value of the for-profit quite a lot, didn't it?
I'm not sure that it's accurate to say that an investment increases the value. I believe you attempt to ascertain the current value to make a fair investment.
And the market determined that the value was higher than it had been as a result of that deal.
Higher than when?
So as a fiduciary, you have a duty to act on behalf of the organization for which you are a fiduciary and not on your own behalf, right?
Yes.
Executives and directors of companies owe fiduciary duties to those companies. Is that right?
That is my understanding. Yes.
You were on the OpenAI nonprofit board, and you were also executive of the for-profit and the nonprofit at different times, right?
Yes.
Did anyone ever sit down and explain to you, these are your fiduciary duties, and these are the things that you must do to fulfill your fiduciary duties?
I'm not sure if such a conversation existed.
Okay. You just kind of figured it out on your own?
I mean, there are many conversations that have happened over time, but we've been very focused on achieving the mission.
And today you're president of OpenAI, the for-profit company, right?
Yes.
As the president, you participate in business and strategy of the company?
I do a lot of things.
Does it include deciding who the company is going to partner with in various initiatives?
I'm really involved in a lot of activities. Yes.
So that's a yes to my answer.
I think so. I wouldn't say necessarily exhaustive of every single deal or partnership.
All right. I want to pull up Exhibit 390 again, which is your fourth amended supplemental responses and objections to plaintiffs' first set of interrogatories dated April 29th of 2026, just before the start of this trial. So returning to the disclosures here, your investment in Cerebras, you still have that investment, don't you?
I do.
And your responses to the interrogatory describe a December 2025 OpenAI deal with Cerebras, right?
Yes.
That deal was for $10 billion of Cerebras's chips, right?
Sounds right.
OpenAI was buying $10 billion of chips from Cerebras, right?
It's a little nuanced, but yes.
And that deal was publicly announced in January of 2026.
Sounds right.
And in September of 2025, before the deal was announced in September, Cerebras's valuation was around $8 billion. You recall that?
Not specifically.
Does that sound right?
It sounds plausible, yes.
And by February of 2026, after the $10 billion deal with OpenAI, Cerebras's valuation reached over $23 billion. Is that right?
I don't know specifically.
Does that sound about right?
It sounds plausible.
Okay. So your equity in Cerebras became more valuable as a result of the transaction that OpenAI did with Cerebras for $10 billion, right?
I think that's certainly possible.
Okay. And you worked at Stripe for approximately 4.5 years before you joined OpenAI.
Yeah, back when we were 4 people hacking in a room.
And as of March 2026, you had shares in Stripe that were worth about $471 million.
Yes.
And that's your second largest equity holding next to the OpenAI for-profit.
Yes.
I'm going to direct your attention to the bottom of page 6. This says that OpenAI has been paying Stripe for payment processing services since June of 2023. Do you see that?
Yes.
And at the bottom of page 6, top of page 7, states that in March of 2025, OpenAI agreed to a 3-year deal to pay Stripe $15 million in the first year, $20 million in the second year, and $25 million in the third year. So that's $60 million over 3 years, right?
Yes, that is accurate.
You know a company called CoreWeave?
I do.
And it's a compute provider, right?
Yes.
As of April of 2026, the value, you own equity in CoreWeave as well, right?
By accident, yes.
And as of April 2026, the value of your CoreWeave equity was around $750,000.
I believe you.
Okay. And on page 3 of this exhibit, it states that in March of 2025, OpenAI entered into a deal with CoreWeave and placed an order for approximately $11.9 billion of compute. Is that right?
Yes.
And directing you to page 3, it states that in May of 2025, OpenAI placed another order for $4 billion of compute from CoreWeave. You see that?
Yes.
And in September of 2025, OpenAI entered into another deal with CoreWeave to purchase approximately $6.5 billion of compute. All right?
Yes.
As president of OpenAI, you participated in meetings and discussions about the CoreWeave deals, didn't you?
I'm not sure about the deal specifically. Certainly involved on the technical architecture side. And I believe before I actually even had the CoreWeave interest.
Well, you certainly, okay. Your Honor, I direct you to deposition page 137, 21 to 25.
All right, proceed.
You recall you were deposed in this case, and there was a meeting at which, before we put it, before where lawyers were there and my colleague asked you questions under oath, just like you're under oath here today in court.
Absolutely.
You swore to tell the truth, right?
Yes.
Okay, now, were you asked this question and did you get this answer? Question, and did you participate in that big meeting about the shape of the transaction? Answer, I believe that I participated in technical meetings and discussions and documents about, about this transaction. Did you give that, were you asked that question, did you give that answer?
Yes.
Okay. Your disclosures list a power company called Helion Energy, Helion Energy. It's trying to develop a fusion power technology, right?
Yes.
But it hasn't developed that technology in a commercially usable form yet, has it?
No.
It's not providing power to any companies right now, is it?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Now, directing your attention to page 2 of Exhibit 390, says that you invested in Helion in August of 2023. And then on page 4 of your disclosures, it says that OpenAI entered into a scaled deployment agreement with Helion in May of 2024. Is that right?
I believe so, yes.
And a scaled deployment agreement means there's a potential for future agreements for OpenAI to purchase power from Helion if Helion is able to develop this technology, right?
I believe so.
In 2024, OpenAI entered into this scale deployment agreement. I'm sorry, this is at, you're disclosing it in Plaintiff's Exhibit 390, page 4. So that agreement's a roadmap for potential future agreements for OpenAI to purchase power from Helion, right?
It says that that agreement creates no binding commitments, and instead establishes a roadmap for potential future agreements between Helion and OpenAI.
And OpenAI entered into another agreement to buy power from Helion in March of 2026, correct?
That is what it says here.
The value of that deal has not been announced, has it?
I am uncertain as to the value of that deal.
Okay. Sam Altman also has equity in Helion, doesn't he?
Yes,
He's got a lot more equity than you do, doesn't he?
that is my understanding.
Is it as much as $1.5 billion in an equity in Helion?
I don't know.
He was involved in the board discussions about whether to go forward with the Helion deal, wasn't he?
I believe that he certainly didn't vote on it. I certainly was recused from it, and I don't think he participated in every conversation.
But that wasn't my question. My question was, he was involved in the board discussions about the Helium transactions, wasn't he?
I would believe he was involved in some of them, yes.
Thank you. In 2023, OpenAI converted its for-profit entity into something called a public benefit corporation, or PBC, right?
Sorry, what date did you say?
Yes. In 2025, OpenAI converted its for-profit entity into a public benefit corporation, also called a PBC, correct?
I believe so. I don't know if it's technically conversion or not, but I would say yes.
And the PBC has no cap on the profits that investors can make, right?
Correct.
You can make whatever the market bears, right?
I don't know if I would characterize it exactly like that, but sure.
Microsoft has a stake in the PBC that's worth about $135 billion, doesn't it?
I don't know the exact value of it today.
Sound about right?
Sounds about right.
And as part of the deal to convert OpenAI into a PBC, OpenAI agreed to give Microsoft rights to use pre-AGI technology, right?
I'm not sure if there were net new rights granted as part of this.
You don't know all the details of the deal, do you?
It's not necessarily my focus area.
Do you know that the this current OpenAI for-profit entity recently raised money at a valuation of $840 billion?
Post money, I believe. Yes.
And you are exploring the possibility of doing something called an initial public offering. Is that right?
I think it's possible.
But you're exploring it, aren't you?
I believe so.
All right. That would allow you to sell shares of stock to the investing public, right?
I believe that is what an IPO is.
If there is an IPO, your personal stake in OpenAI could be worth much more than $30 billion, right?
I'm not sure how those two are connected.
It's possible, isn't it?
I'm just not sure how those two are connected.
The OpenAI charter that we discussed earlier said OpenAI wanted to benefit humanity without the need to generate a financial return. You write that? Maybe we could put up to 24, please. Let me highlight that language. Commit to use any influence we obtain over AGI deployment to ensure. I'm sorry. I'm not going to go through it again, but this is where you said the primary duty is to humanity, fiduciary duty is to humanity, right?
Yes.
And then by 2023, though, by the time of the Microsoft deal, you decided that OpenAI wasn't operating consistent with this charter, and it needed a new charter, right?
No.
Well, you drafted a new one, didn't you?
We drafted a new one sometime in 2024.
In 2024, okay. So let me show you Plaintiff's Exhibit 359, which the parties, before we put it up as yeah, which the parties have stipulated could be admitted to evidence. Fair procedure? Okay. This is a December 30th, 2023 email from you to Sam Altman and to Jason Kwan. Who's Jason Kwan?
Our chief strategy officer.
And was he at the time maybe your general counsel?
I am uncertain.
Okay. And again, the date here is December 28th of 2023. And you say to Larry Summers, who was one of your board members, right?
True.
Sam Altman, Brett Taylor, Adam D'Angelo, all board members, right?
I'm not sure that Sam was on the board at the time.
Okay. But you say, great to hear. I'm also intrigued by the Benefit Corp annual report. Within the current structure could be interesting. And then you say, as part of that, would definitely like to align on how we think about the mission. Sam and I have been working on Charter 2.0, as mentioned at the board meeting. Here's our draft. Would love any feedback on the direction. So you were actually working on the new draft charter in 2023, weren't you?
2 notes. You dropped the current, and yes, it appears that as of December of 23, so I was off by perhaps a month. You dropped the current, and yes, December of 2023, so it seems I was off by a month. My apologies.
There's no reason for you to apologize. I want to know, though, do you think that there's some reason why it would be better for you to be working on it in 2024 than in 2023? Would it look better for some reason?
No, just simply my statement was you connected it to the $10 billion Microsoft investment, which was not the case.
But it's the same year, right?
Certainly.
So, and that's the biggest financial event that happened at OpenAI, the $10 billion investment by Microsoft, right?
I'm not sure how to characterize it.
Well, you didn't have any other $10 billion investments up to that point in time, did you?
That was the only $10 billion investment as of that point.
And the largest investment Microsoft had made at that point was $2 billion, right?
For some total of 3, yes.
So it was 5 times larger, right?
Not than 3, no.
No, 5 times larger than 2. Even I can do that math. Thanks.
We agree.
And I'm not an engineer. But it was, I mean, come on. The Microsoft deal was a huge deal.
I mean, I'm not sure how to answer that question.
You don't know how to answer whether it was a huge deal.
I am not certain. I mean,
Okay, then fine. Then don't. You don't know how to answer whether that. But at the same time, that same year, okay, let's just agree on that. That same year, you changed or proposed changing the charter, didn't you?
Well, one note is that I view this as a clarification, not as inconsistent with the previous charter, which is something you had asked about earlier.
That's what I asked you. You changed the charter in 2023, the same year you got the Microsoft investment, right?
We did not.
You proposed changing it.
We had a draft.
Okay, and you proposed it to the board. You weren't going to waste board members' time, were you?
We discussed this with the board. We ultimately did not move forward with it.
No, that wasn't my question. My question was you weren't going to bring something to the board that was going to waste their time.
Certainly, I would endeavor not to do so.
So in this draft, you say on 2.0, you were wrong at times about OpenAI's original setup, right?
It might be better just to read the words rather than characterize them.
It says, over the years, we've increasingly learned how to further this goal in practice, such as by making breakthroughs and deploying them in products like ChatGPT.
As products like ChatGPT.
Okay. We've also realized we were wrong at times. That's what you said, didn't you?
All those words are accurate so far.
You say, we've grown to regard capitalism not as a constraint, but instead as a positive force, right?
There's a broader sentence around it as well.
There are other changes as well, right? Okay, could we put up, I have a graphic that compares your draft 2.0 to the original charter, which I guess is still on the website, right?
It is still our charter.
I mean, as of last night when we checked, you still proclaim that same mission, right?
We stand by it.
Okay. And Okay, can we show the comparison? I'm sorry. It says our primary duty is humanity. That's gone, right?
I'm not certain.
Okay, and you mentioned that capitalism shouldn't be a constraint, right?
Again, those are your words.
Did this lawsuit prevent you from publishing the new charter?
No.
Or any discussion around whether, we're being sued for not following our mission, our charitable mission, and so maybe, we shouldn't be changing what our mission is now, at least on our website and at least as to what we're telling the world, right?
I've honestly never really been certain what I'm being sued for. Never been certain what I'm being sued for.
Oh, you're not. Did you read the complaint?
In great detail.
You hired some really, well-known lawyers, well-known law firms, and they never explained to you what you're being sued for?
I understand the claims. I've seen how they've changed over time too.
So you do understand?
I do stand by my testimony.
I don't know. Did you say? I thought you said that you didn't understand what you were being sued for.
Those are the words I used. Yes.
Okay, and you stand by that testimony.
Yes.
Okay, so you understand that you are being sued for breaching your fiduciary duty to the charity to follow the mission that you proclaimed as recently as, I guess, right now to the world on the website. You understand that's what you're being sued for?
Oh,
I just disagree with that.
Well, you don't get to disagree or agree. I'm asking, you said you didn't know what you were being sued for, and I'm telling you, you're being sued for breaching the charitable mission of OpenAI, which was to develop safe AI, open source basis for the benefit of humanity and no persons to profit individually by it. You don't understand that's what you're being sued for?
oh, well,
My statement is that there were multiple iterations of this lawsuit, that the actual claims changed, many were dropped, that we were sued first in state court, now we're sued in federal court, and to me the core of what the activity was, again, I just really stand by what we've done, and I did not understand.
You were here for the opening statements, weren't you?
Absolutely.
Did you hear me?
Absolutely.
No, I know we had a couple of cutouts with the mobile mic, but you understood what I said, right? You saw the charts I put up?
I understand what you're saying.
So you do understand that you're being sued for breaching your duty to fulfill the mission of OpenAI, the nonprofit. You understand that, don't you?
That's not what we did.
So I'm not asking you what you did. You said you didn't know why you're being sued, okay?
I'm willing to accept your characterization of that's why you believe you are suing us.
But I just want to make sure.
I'm willing to believe your characterization if that's why you believe you're suing us. Yes.
all right, Mr. Mueller, let's move on.
Okay. On November 17th of 2023, you were fired from your board position at OpenAI, the nonprofit, right?
That is true. I was removed from the board.
And you resigned your position with the for-profit OpenAI in solidarity with Sam Altman, right?
I'm not sure if I would characterize it that way, but I did resign.
And Sam Altman was fired from OpenAI at that time. And the board announced that his departure follows a deliberative review process by the board, which concluded that he was not consistently candid in his communications with the board, hindering its ability to exercise its responsibilities. The board no longer has confidence in his ability to continue leading OpenAI. Is that right?
He was removed from the board, fired from the company, and I believe what you read was from the public statement that the board released. Yes.
Thank you. One moment here. something that showed up that we saw at least in the live stream, or I'm sorry, not the live stream, but the real time. Just to make sure I got correct. The public benefit corporation valuation is about 800. Public benefit corporation valuation is about $840 billion. Is that right?
Including the amount raised, yes.
Yeah, and Microsoft's interest today is worth about $200 billion, right?
I would believe it. It should be similar to the nonprofit's amount.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Cross. Plus direct. Your Honor, may I approach with the binder?
Do I need this binder still?
You can put it back there. Do that. May I proceed, Your Honor? Afternoon, Mr. Brockman. I'd like to just briefly address some points that Mr. Molo covered, and we'll come back to these topics later. First, has OpenAI abandoned its nonprofit roots?
No.
How does OpenAI continue to adhere to those roots?
Well, we have the OpenAI Foundation, that is the original nonprofit, which is resourced more than $150 billion, maybe closer to $200 billion worth of equity value, including some that it's actually sold. So it actually has significant cash assets on hand. The OpenAI for-profit itself is also not a standard C corporation. It is a public benefit corp, which means that the mission is inherent to how you make decisions.
And understanding that the OpenAI nonprofit still exists today, did you ever commit to Elon Musk that OpenAI would stay a nonprofit?
No.
Did you ever observe anyone else at OpenAI do so?
No.
Ever even tell Mr. Musk that OpenAI would always have a nonprofit element?
No.
Did you ever? You have him on direct, so no leading questions from you with respect to him. Honor, this I believe is permissible cross-examination for a short period on the topics that Mr. Molo covered. I disagree. Okay. We're doing it this way for his convenience. So you need to have open-ended questions with him. What commitments, if any, did you ever make to Elon Musk about OpenAI's corporate structure?
None.
What commitments, if any, did you ever hear anyone at OpenAI make to Mr. Musk about OpenAI's corporate structure?
Never heard any.
I'd like to take a look at PX 159. It'll pull up on the screen there, Mr. Brockman. It was admitted in evidence. This is an email thread between Mr. Musk, Siobhan Zillis, Sam Teller from September 22nd, 2017. Do you see that?
I do.
And do you see yourself anywhere on this chain, just to be clear?
No.
What was happening around September 22nd, 2017 between OpenAI and Mr. Musk?
Well, the original for-profit negotiations had just blown up, and we were trying to find some resolution of what the path forward would be.
Can you read the first paragraph of Ms. Zillis's September 22nd email aloud?
Quick FYI, that is for your information, that Greg and Ilya said they would like to continue with a nonprofit structure. They know they would need to provide a guarantee that they won't go off doing something else to make it work.
Is it true that you wanted to continue with the nonprofit structure at this point on September 22nd, 2017?
Yes.
And what did it mean to continue with the nonprofit structure?
Keep doing work there.
Did you tell Ms. Zillis around this time that you were committed to the nonprofit structure?
No.
What do you recall telling Ms. Zillis about the nonprofit structure or saying to her on or around September 22nd, 2017?
Well, we didn't want to quit, right? Elon had asked for a firm guarantee, and she said that there was going to be conditions attached to continuing. And we said, we're going to keep working, and that we let her spend some time to come back with what those conditions would be.
And in August and September of 2017, had you discussed with Mr. Musk the idea of creating an OpenAI for-profit?
Extensively.
Were those discussions about a small adjunct to the nonprofit?
No.
What, if anything, did Mr. Musk say about a small adjunct for-profit in 2017?
I literally never heard those words really until the beginning of this trial.
Have you ever heard, well, did you ever talk about profit caps with Mr. Musk in 2017?
No.
When was the first discussion you had of profit caps that you can recall?
That was January 2018.
And who was involved in that discussion?
That was Josh Akiem and myself.
Who's Josh Akiem?
He is right over there. He is an employee of OpenAI.
And was Mr. Musk part of any discussion that you had about profit caps?
No.
What, if any, commitments have you made to Mr. Musk that concerning OpenAI's open sourcing of technology?
None.
While Mr. Musk was with OpenAI, did OpenAI in fact open source all of its technology?
No.
Does OpenAI open source some of its technology today?
Yes.
I would like to pull up an exhibit that Mr. Mola was showing you earlier, which is PX16, please. It won't be in your binder, but it'll appear on the screen. You remember Mr. Mola was asking you questions about this original nonprofit certificate of incorporation from December 2015?
Yes.
And just so the record is clear, what is the name of the OpenAI nonprofit today?
OpenAI Foundation.
And it still has an active nonprofit certificate of incorporation?
I would believe so, yes.
In the middle of the third recital in this document, on the page ending 417, it states the resulting technology will benefit the public and the corporation will seek to open source technology for the public benefit when applicable. What did you understand that to mean?
That we would create technology in order to benefit humanity. And sometimes, when it's applicable, we might open source.
Was it a commitment to always open source?
No.
The first sentence of the fifth recital reads in part, no part of the net income or assets of this corporation shall ever inure to the benefit of any director, officer, or member thereof. Do you see that?
Yes.
Have you ever received any part of the nonprofit's net income?
No.
And as far as you know, has any part of the nonprofit's net income flowed to private interests?
No.
Have you received for your own benefit any part of the nonprofit's assets?
No.
Any of the nonprofit's assets been transferred to any private interest for other than fair value?
No.
For any contribution that Mr. Musk ever made to OpenAI, did you ever hear him attach any conditions?
I did not.
Have you ever misled Mr. Musk about your intentions concerning OpenAI?
No.
When Mr. Musk resigned from OpenAI about 8 years ago, what did he tell you he was leaving to do?
To start an AGI competitor within Tesla.
Did he tell you why he was going to do that? I didn't hear you.
The objection to forward with the question, I understand what being asked, no foundation. There's no foundation, Your Honor.
I'll allow that one, lay some foundation. Did you have a conversation with Mr. Musk about why he was leaving OpenAI?
Yes.
And did he tell you why he was leaving OpenAI?
Same objection, Your Honor.
Overruled.
He did.
What did he say?
He said that he was going to start an AGI competitor in Tesla.
And did he tell you why he was going to do that?
Yes.
What reason did he give you?
Well, he said the most important thing was that there was going to be a counterweight to Google's DeepMind, that is a real AGI competitor that would get there first or at the same time. He thought there was no hope, that there was 0% chance of that happening with OpenAI. Tesla was the only thing he thought could possibly do it. And so that's what he's going to go do.
As far as you know, has Tesla ever been a nonprofit?
No.
When he left OpenAI, did Mr. Musk share with you any plans concerning openness at a Tesla AI lab?
The opposite.
Did he share something with you about the Tesla AI lab's plans for openness?
He said that, because we asked him whether people would know that they're working on AGI, he said no, that the shareholders wouldn't like it, so it'd have to be done in secret. That would mean that there'd be no publication, that they wouldn't be known what they were working on.
And when was the last time that Elon Musk made a financial contribution to OpenAI?
2020.
Mr. Musk asked you about Mr. Molo asked you about your equity stake in OpenAI. What entity do you have equity in?
The for-profit.
When did you get that equity stake?
2019, or maybe I guess end of 2018.
And when you got that stake in 2018, did you have any idea what it would be worth today?
No.
Who decided how much equity you'd get in 2018?
The board.
Did you participate in the board vote that granted you your stake?
No.
And roughly what proportion of employees at OpenAI have equity in the for-profit?
Essentially all of them.
And I think you testified about this before, but I just want to make sure the record is clear. Approximately how much money has the OpenAI nonprofit raised in donations during its existence?
A little under 150 million, I think like 140, maybe a little bit shy of that.
And is the OpenAI nonprofit underfunded as a result of you and other OpenAI employees receiving equity stakes in the for-profit?
No.
What assets does the OpenAI nonprofit have today?
Well, it has a major equity position in the PBC. And again, it's sold some of that.
And how has the nonprofit's current value been built?
Blood, sweat, and tears, and also probably about $150 billion worth of for-profit investment.
In broad strokes, what are the OpenAI Foundation's activities today?
So two major pillars in practice today. One is what we call AI resilience, helping society be resilient to transformative AI. Second is for public health and curing diseases, things like that.
And can you tell us a little bit more about what AI resilience means?
So, the core of OpenAI's mission is that we're creating this technology. We want it to be beneficial, right? We want it to benefit society. And we kind of started with this picture of safety, right? That will technically make the AI be aligned with what people want and keep humans at the center of it. But you start to realize that alone is not enough, that society really needs to build around the shape of this technology in the same way that society is built around cars and engines, right? That we build roads, that we have seatbelts, that we have rules of the road, these like sort of many layered safety resilience mechanisms that are very distributed. So lots of people contributing to figure out how do we make a technology beneficial to the world. And we think that AI deserves the same kind of treatment.
And I think you mentioned healthcare initiatives as well. What kinds of healthcare initiatives is the foundation currently engaged in?
Well, one of the major ones is a focus on Alzheimer's and curing it.
And what's that about?
So we are partnering with this institute called ARC Institute as a initial sort of scientific vehicle. So that's a entity that does Alzheimer's research. They have a lot of great scientists they have started to incorporate a lot of machine learning into their work, and we're helping accelerate that.
And what is your involvement with the foundation's activities today?
I would think of myself as an informal advisor.
And in what ways do you informally advise the foundation?
Well, for example, I help them set up that partnership and to really figure out how to operationalize it.
How would the foundation's initiatives be funded if not for the OpenAI for-profit?
They would not.
Going back, I guess, over a decade now, what drove you to co-found OpenAI back in 2015?
I mean, I really believe that the most important thing I could contribute to is to help AGI play out a little bit better than it would without me. Like, that was a fundamental driving force and remains so today.
And what is AGI?
Artificial general intelligence.
What does that mean?
That really means machines that are, at least at specific tasks, as capable as a human.
Have we reached AGI yet?
I like to say we're like 80% of the way there.
And what do you mean by that?
Well, we very much have these AI models that are very smart and capable, but they're not fully connected to the world. And that I think we as society are still figuring out, how do we really integrate these? How do we make sure that we're maximizing the benefits, minimizing the risk? And so I think that there's a lot of activity still to really get to the point that AGI is here and delivering the value that we see possible from it.
And I know you have talked about this, but from your perspective, what does OpenAI's mission of ensuring that AGI benefits all of humanity, what does that mean in practical terms?
Well, number one, there is the actual technology development, right? We've always thought that there's that ensure word kind of packs in a build, but build is not the only thing that we need to achieve, right? So we do want this technology to exist, but we also want to take the actions that help ensure that it is maximally beneficial. And some of that's about our own activities, and some of that is about the broader ecosystem.
What do you do today as the president of OpenAI?
Do a lot of things.
What are some of the things you do?
Well, I tend to focus on whatever area it most needs my help that I can go and be involved in and help make a difference. So for the past year and a half, I've been very focused on the compute infrastructure side of the world, actually training the models, writing, I wrote a lot of the code traditionally to actually train these and deploy them. Now I'm focused on the product side. And so I've been doing a lot of work to help focus the company for this moment where we're at the 80% AGI and to really figure out how do we bring this into the world in a beneficial way.
And when you say products, what products in particular are you focused on?
We have several. So ChatGPT is the one that people know the most. Codex is an emerging product. Our API was actually the first product that we released. And so the API was our first product that we released.
Why don't we start with the API? What is an API?
It stands for Application Programming Interface.
What does it do?
It is a way for developers, so software engineers, to use the technology of another company.
And what about, you mentioned Codex. What is that?
That is a tool that we built originally for software engineers, but has actually really expanded to be very useful for any kind of work you do with a computer.
And ChatGPT.
So that is a product that we've made widely available. It has almost 1 billion users every week that gives people access to an AI, increasingly an assistant, started as answering questions and increasingly can help do things for you. And
you said I think you said 1 billion people use ChatGPT, is that right?
About that, yes.
And what is that paid access?
The vast majority is actually free.
How does ChatGPT serve OpenAI's mission?
Well, one thing we've really focused on is making this technology broadly available. Like, we think that's one core part of our mission, is to ensure these benefits are distributed. So by giving people access to AI, they can use it in their daily lives. Many people use it to get health information. Like, there's many people who actually say that their life or that of a loved one was saved by ChatGPT. Like, we think that by making this technology available, we empower people to do more.
I'm going to come back to today, and I'm going to come back to the founding of OpenAI, but I want to go even further back. Where did you grow up, Mr. Brockman?
North Dakota.
And where did you attend college?
A little bit of Harvard, a little bit of MIT.
Why a little bit of each?
Well, I thought that I was going to be doing like philosophy and chemistry and math, kind of a mix of things. And so I went initially to Harvard, but I actually got very excited about about writing software. So I spent most of my time writing software for the Harvard community, building services that many people would use. And freshman year, there were these two seniors that seemed to know everything, and they would just debate lots of very obscure topics. And I remember all of us thinking, one day that'll be us. Like, we'll know the obscure topics, we'll have the debates. But then they graduated, and suddenly I was running the club. Like, I was supposed to be having the obscure technical debates. And I was just a sophomore. And I kept looking down the street at MIT, where I had a lot of friends that I felt like, wow, I could continue to really be the person who knows the least in the room and learn from them.
And you said you were interested in writing software. What was it about writing software that got you interested?
Well, the thing that I'd always liked about math or philosophy is you think really hard about a problem, you understand it, you write it down, obscure way we call it proof or philosophy paper. But your impact is that maybe 5 people in your field will read it and understand it. But the thing about software is you think hard about a problem, you understand it, you write it down in an obscure way we call a program, but then anyone can get the benefits. They don't have to understand how you did it. And that was something where I was like, wow, I can actually help. I can actually build stuff. People will use it and it'll matter.
And did you graduate from MIT?
No.
What happened?
I got the startup bug.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I knew I wanted to do a startup, but I thought I had to go to grad school, come up with something cool there, and then start a company. But then I met some people in Silicon Valley who were doing this tiny payment startup, really just, basically at the founding stage. And I remember feeling like these were actually, first of all, they were my age. They were already out there doing real startups. And I was like, one of the two of us is wrong. Like, I thought that it's not possible to do it at my age. I really want to know who it is. And the second is that I just felt this kinship. I felt like these are the kinds of people that I can continue to learn from, work with, and build something great.
And I think you mentioned a payment startup. What are you referring to there?
So this is the company that I dropped out to go do.
What was that called?
It was originally called /dev/payments, but we changed it to the better name of /dev/payments. But we renamed it to the much better name of Stripe.
In what positions did you hold at Stripe?
I was an engineer, perhaps you could say founding engineer, and then chief technology officer.
What years were you there?
2010 through 2015.
And I think you mentioned earlier that there were only 4 employees or so at the beginning of Stripe. Is that right?
Yes.
By the time you left, how many employees were there?
250.
Why did you leave Stripe?
It was never my mission, right? I think it's actually a very important one. Payments to the world, like that's a very important thing that gives access and opportunity to lots of people. But the problem that really got me out of bed was not that, right? That I had actually been very excited for many years about the idea of AI. And I remember feeling like I wanted a mission that I could just work on for the rest of my life that was the problem that had been motivating me for a long time.
And did you have another job lined up when you left Stripe?
No.
Were you in touch with Sam Altman before you left Stripe?
Yes.
How did you know Mr. Altman?
I actually knew him through the founders of Stripe.
And what was your discussion with Mr. Altman before leaving Stripe?
Well, I was thinking of leaving. Again, kind of felt like I'd done what I'd come there to do, to succeed with or without me. And I remember the CEO of Stripe, Patrick Collison, said to me, hey, before you decide to go, at least go talk to Sam. He's seen lots of people in your situation, early employees at startups. He may have some advice. And so I went to go talk to Sam. After just a couple minutes, he was like, okay, you clearly have decided you're already going to leave. What are you thinking about doing next? I said, well, I'm thinking about doing an AI thing. And he said, I'm also thinking about doing an AI thing. And so we decided to keep in touch.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for the next episode on While We Were Distracted.